Here is a quick video on the tips and mistakes you absolutely need to know of in solo leveling Arise. This way you ensure you don't waste your resources and to maximize on your progress. And as a thanks for the continued support as we push towards the 30,000 subscriber mark, I'm having a $100 giveaway. It can be to either of the app stores or just sent to you directly. Our latest winner was Toon Galaxies. To enter the giveaway, just drop a comment on this video, be subscribed to the channel, and drop a like with notifications on to show your support and to see if you've won. And there will be more giveaways to come once we reach that 30,000 mark. Now, I feel like one mistake I constantly see people doing is spending their essence stones incorrectly. You should not spend them on anything else, with the exception of the rate up banner. The special draw tickets are so incredibly hard to get, let alone the SSR units, so please strictly save them for these draw tickets. And honestly, as you start out, the best tip I can possibly give you, and the best tip anyone else can provide you, is to reroll your account. I know it may seem like a bit of a hassle, but getting your first SSR, ideally Choi from the rate up banner, but the other units you want to focus on besides Choi from that banner is from the selection draw. But the units you really want to go for are Emma, Yoonhoo, and Seo. We also have Lim as well, and you want to go for weapons like Plum and Grimoire. These are your ideals right now. All of these units scale very well into the early and mid game, and even to the late game, so if you pull them on your starter account, you can rest easy knowing you're going to have a good time. You do have to know that Lim is a unit you want to go for, but he does have some skill difficulty. He is a bit harder to use, but he is the best Dark Hunter we have available, so do keep that in mind. But these units right here are probably the best ones you want to go for again, and you can swap out any of these units for a Grimoire if you want. My current favorite has been Yoonhoo. He has some fantastic break in his kit, but Emma is also a fantastic unit for that early and mid game play. Now, we do get some free SSR units through the daily login event. We have Wu here, and honestly speaking, he is not a good unit, so if you pull him on your reroll, you should not be looking forward to using him. So definitely do reroll the account yet again, since he is one of the weaker SSR units we have. As for your weapons, you definitely want to go for Plum and Grimoire. You do get 2 scythes as you play the game, and you could definitely use them later on as they're a very good overall weapon, but since we are provided some free copies of them, you don't want to keep it on your rate up list. We have units like Libor and Lim, like I mentioned earlier, that do strive in the late game, so no worries if you don't want to focus on them right now. We have these units here that honestly do strive in every aspect of the game. And remember, for rerolling, that mobile has guest accounts. You can refresh those accounts easily back to the completion of the tutorial, meaning you start out with all the rewards again, so do your rerolling on mobile. Emulators do not work as of the making of this video, so don't waste your time on them. You will get an error message. You have to do one reroll at a time, unfortunately, per device you have. PC is the absolute worst way to reroll. That's due to needing to log in, so you'll need a new email every single time, which is not ideal, so stick to mobile rerolling. And just as a little reminder, we have practically no sources for these draw tickets here, so do make note of that if you ever want to spend your essence stones. Again, keep them reserved for the tickets here. And I feel like one thing people do miss is the story mode, where they don't finish all the quests available, but go back and do them. Don't worry about doing them early on. You can see I didn't do them myself. Some will be a bit tough to do early on until you get some stronger units to clear them without wasting time. An easy way to get some free draw tickets for some quick units, and the same goes for the hard missions as well. Don't forget them. They are such an easy and quick means of getting EXP and draw tickets early on for pulling more units and weapons. And speaking of pulling units, don't forget about your SR units. You may think SR units are the best, but honestly, we have some SR units that are arguably better than our SSR units. We have Park, for example, an amazing SR that can easily carry you. She is much better than Wu here. We also have units like Nam as well. She probably holds one of the top spots for SRs currently, so look out for her. She has breaks and a ton of freeze effects, so if you have yet to use her, you're definitely missing out. Do keep an eye out for getting copies of her. We also do get a bunch of free copies of Jinhoo, so with his dupes, he actually gets a bit competitive, some nice stats, and it's very easy to make use of him as a support, on top of his easy break skills. There are also some other units you can keep an eye out for. We have units like Kim, Joe is pretty good too. We also have Hwang, he's pretty good as well. And one unit you should definitely not miss out on is Kang. He is one of the best, if not best, damage dealers we have in our SR slot. He is a dark elemental unit that deals a ton of damage, so again, if you have him and you haven't used him, I highly recommend giving him a try. And when it comes to leveling up your units, you have to remember that gold is the biggest issue we have in the game right now, and leveling up your units does cost gold. You should only focus on leveling up 3 to 4 units that you have that you plan on using on your main roster. You should ensure you're getting multiple elements in. One element that's always recommended is light. That's why these light units here are recommended. They are solid to use, as it is very good for Igris, and that's something that players have issues with early on in the game. So do focus on 4, maybe 5 hunters at the most, since gold is such a hard resource to get. And when it comes to leveling up your hunter skills, they should only be leveled up as well for the units you strictly are going to use. Again, those 4 units you want to keep in your rotation. They are not cheap at all to upgrade, so try to level up the skills for the hunters you'll plan on eventually using. And just a quick note when it comes to summoning units, as we'll take a look at events in a second. Soul Leveling Arise doesn't currently have any summoning events, and I doubt there would be any, since that's strictly a whaling activity, so there is no point in holding on to the regular draw tickets that you have. Just go ahead and summon whenever you can. But when it comes to those special draw tickets, well, I'm sure you all know about the power creep that exists in these gacha games, so maybe once you get 1 copy of the banner unit here, don't go for multiple copies, especially if you're free to play. That will be hard to do, considering these tickets are so hard to get, but again, maybe do wait until you start pulling on this banner. I know I'm definitely going to wait until this 11-day timer is over, since I know for a fact the next unit is going to be better. Although Choi is one of the best units we have, power creep always exists. That way people spend more money on the game trying to get the next best unit. But also make sure when you do summon, don't do single draw summons, do multiple consecutive draws, because when you do 10 draws, you're guaranteed to at least get 1 SR unit, so that way we do maximize on our pulls. And I know I said this earlier, but don't spend any essence stones on these tickets here. They are not worth it. Save it for the raid up banner. That's the best way to get value out of your essence stones. Now, one thing people do often miss is how good rare items are. If we go to our hunter weapons here, for example, you can see I have this A10 bow equipped onto limb. I'll have a video on this later on just to hammer in this point that rare items are good. You can see an A10 item provides such high precision even at the rare level. This is extremely important for dealing damage on top of the bonus stats they provide, as you can see here, increasing the crit we have by 18% on top of our attack, defense, and HP by 10%, which is a very high value. So if you don't have your rares up to A10, be sure to get them up to that mark. You will be using these A10 rare items in the early and mid game, but also I recommend not trying to salvage your weapons early on. I know it might be a bit hard to resist since you do get some nice rewards, but we do have some events for this. The event isn't out right now, but previously counted towards the event at the time, where right now we have this gate exploration challenge going on. So don't rush to salvage your weapons, for example. Do try to wait until the next events come out. Now, for artifacts, one tip I can provide, and it's a very important mistake to make note of, is that you should only get your artifacts to +5 enhancements, unless the artifact you have has amazing substats, but that's rare early on, so don't worry. This is because once you get past that 5 enhancement level, you will be required to use gold to unequip these items. As you can see here, it'll cost 23,000 gold to swap out these 3 artifacts, so do keep note of that. I highly suggest not getting them past 5, as you will be spending gold, and the easiest way to get artifacts early on is through Casca in our Encore missions, and make sure when you are equipping your artifacts to put them on Jinwoo first before anyone else, as that nets the biggest benefit. And speaking of Jinwoo, looking at his stats really quick, unless you have Plum, don't worry about crit in the early game, as it's very hard to advance, so ignore agility for now. You should just focus on attack and perception later on in the game when we bring in agility. Right now, just focus your stats on attack and perception. Later on in the game is when we bring on agility, which means we re-optimize our skill set, but that's a discussion for another video. And while we are here, we can look at our skills really quick. 2 skills you should focus on, since they're so easy to activate, is Death Stance and Multi-Strike. Just from a stat damage point of view, they're better, but also they provide tons of break and they are simple to use. Commander's Touch is pretty good as well, but it is harder to get off, so I don't recommend that early on. The other skills we have are just lackluster in my opinion, and don't feel as easy to use. And for your ultimate skills, just go for the one that deals the most damage. That's the easiest choice to make. And one thing you should take note of is how all your skills, this includes Jinwoo skills, your weapon skills, and your hunter skills, and how they interact with your QTE skills. Our QTE skills are ones that are triggered under certain conditions, as listed here as enemies are going airborne, so you should consider these synergies when you do make certain decisions as well when it comes to skills. skills. And to deal the most amount of damage, you obviously need the right weapons equipped. If you don't have the obvious choices like our SSR Plum and Grimoire weapons, some amazing options we have, just like in the show, is Casca's Venom Fang. It's a fantastic weapon early on, and we did mention light units early on in the video, which is exactly why this weapon here, Lustrous Dragon Sword, is a solid weapon to use. You do get a free copy of it, so you will have access to it eventually. Again, light elemental weapons and light units are great, exactly what you need to beat certain bosses like Igris, so keep that in the back of your mind when choosing weapons, since again you do need a bunch of resources to upgrade them to their best potential. This includes weapon enhancement gear and gold, so be sure you upgrade your weapons if you know for a fact you will be using them, because we certainly don't want to waste these resources. They are not easy to come by. And I want to quickly jump into special commissions. You should really keep a note of this. I know I haven't done it myself just yet, but you are able to just AFK farm these in the story and get those quick rewards. So if you want some tickets, that's the best way to do it. You can see all the rewards here. We get an absolute ton of draw tickets here, including these special draw tickets, which is very rare to get. So go to your earlier stages and set the battles to auto and farm away. That is after you find the relevant story mode missions for those monsters. And also, one thing about auto battles is I don't suggest you use them for any aspect of the game unless it's easy farming. It isn't a perfect system, so you will deal significantly less damage, so don't rely on it. Learn how to play the game manually and you'll have so much more success. And before I forget, let's quickly jump into our shop. We do have some important things to cover in the exchange shop here. For our event celebration coins, you can purchase rune fragments, skill scrolls. I wouldn't really recommend the draw tickets here, since you're not getting that much value, but you can if you want. You can also purchase gold, since we know how tight we are on that resource. And for the weapon materials exchange, you want to go for mana crystals or designs, and player skills as well. Those are always great options for purchase. And jumping into the crystal exchange, artifact enhancements are good, keys especially since we get such a limited supply of them, so always try to purchase your encore and instance keys. They are always a good buy, since they're an easy way to get items and power increases overall. And I have gotten some questions in the past about the armory. You can see here, it provides a total power amount at the bottom. This isn't something you should really be focusing on. The armory is just there to increase our penalty power difference. You deal less damage if the penalty kicks in, so this is an easy way to make up that power difference. You can know when the penalty applies once your power level is red, so that is what it's used for, to make sure you catch up to the recommended power level. So that's what it's used for. The armory is just in place so you reach the recommended total power level. And also with the armory, never ever spend essence stones to unlock an armory slot. You shouldn't do that. Just wait until you get the marks of time. That's when you should unlock them. Again, essence stones are very rare to get. And lastly, don't forget to check the active events. A lot of them are pay to win events, but still, you can get a ton of rewards, such as the special dice event here. We get an easy weapon for Troy that is his best in slot, so make sure you check out these events, that way you don't miss out on any rewards. Anyways, that was a quick crash course on the game and things to look out for. This will definitely set you on the right track, and we will have more guides coming out soon. So if you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment below any other tips or questions you have, and be sure to enter our giveaway. This is Zaf signing out.